Hey guys, and welcome back to another weekly fighting roundup. And today's video, of course, we've got the boxing and the MMA news. If you're new around here though and you haven't subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do need like the video, and let's get straight into it. So, of course, starting off with the boxing. So, Dilmaghani has joined Condon Boxing. Wood versus Warrington and Harper versus Brackhouse will fight 7th of October. That huge domestic fight and a huge fight on the undercard there as well. And if I went to the kind of launch presser for that event, and if you want to see any of the interviews from that and you have not done so already, they're over on the Squared Circle Boxing channel. Got interviews with Wood, with Lee Wood, with Josh Warrington, and with Eddie Hearn as well. So go check that out if you haven't done so already. Alright, that little plug over now. Garcia has called out Cruz. Price is set to fight Coghill October 7th. WBO have granted Lopez a voluntary defence. Matthias versus Ergashev has gone to purse bids. Smith will fight Avila September 1st. The WBC are set to order Stevenson versus Lomachenko. So they were ordered Stevenson versus Haney from what I believed, and even though Haney's now moved up, so they've now said that whoever's like the next top contender in the WBC rankings, which is Lomachenko, who's ranked, I believe, 2nd or 1st, will then be the person who fights him. So it probably will be Lomachenko. Don't know about next, but if not next, in the fight afterwards for Stevenson. Benavidez is set to fight Andrade. That is a great fight in my opinion. Shame that Benavidez still ain't getting his shot, but it's another very good fight. Boatsi versus Aziz and Lawal versus Chamberlain will fight October 21st. Good setup card there. Probably one of the bigger nights that Sky Boxer have got. They've been hyping this one up for a while now, and it's a nice big fight. Itorma and Parker will fight September 23rd. Cameron will rematch Taylor November 25th. Thurman has accepted a call out from Shields. That was random. He said like you wear like thicker gloves, let her wear a head guard and stuff like that. But it's a bit random. I don't think it will happen, but I suppose you never know nowadays. Stevenson is set to fight November 18th, so that most likely is rumoured to be Lomachenko. Possibly could be another option, but that's who it's kind of rumoured to be. Papi is set to fight Slim October 14th. Eubank Jr. has appointed Brian McIntyre. Serrano has joined PFL. I wasn't really sure if to put that in MMA or boxing, but put it in the boxing bit. Charlo will be stripped of his WBO world title, and Zhu will be made WBO world champion as soon as Charlo steps in the ring with Canelo. So about time that Zhu's getting a world title. Maybe not the way that he expected, but still a world title for him, and definitely deserved. And seems like he's going to be fighting Mendoza next. I'm not entirely sure though, Zhu. Zhu versus Brubaker. This is his brother, I believe. And Wilson versus Alanis will fight August 23rd. Chisora will fight Washington August 12th. Ngannou has appointed Mike Tyson. That was a bit random, but it seems like Mike Tyson is now going to be in the corner for Ngannou for his fight versus Fury, of course. Dickinson is set to fight Dennis November 11th. Crawford wants Charlo next, but he does accept Spence Jr. rematch may come in first, and probably will end up coming in December time. Around that time, that's what he said. But it's amazing to see if he goes from Crawford versus Spence straight into Crawford versus Charlo. He only wants the big fights now, and that's just great for pound, huge fights being made. Azim is set to fight Fanyan September 2nd. Stringer is fighting September 2nd. Zepeda versus Gesta and Marias will fight September 16th. Zorro, Hutchinson, Abdullah, Itorma, Bork, Fail, Frankham, Notes, Ngewenya and King will fight September 15th. Nice to see Abdullah back out and King getting his debut, of course. Delakian is set to fight Yuri Akyu. Catrell will fight Linares October 21st. I know a lot of people weren't really too keen on that. My opinion, it's not massive in my... I think Catrell could have definitely fought bigger fights. I mean, he'll probably end up fighting the winner of Haney versus Prograis after this, possibly. Depends if Haney loses, then he probably won't fight Catrell. Well, if Haney wins, he probably won't fight Catrell. If Prograis wins, he might fight Catrell, but if Prograis loses, he also might fight Catrell. So probably will be Prograis either way next. Verus is tested positive for illegal substances, has been banned for I believe 2 years. That was a bit random for a YouTuber fight. McKenna will fight Esposito September 16th. Taraji is set to fight Budler September 18th. Joshua versus Whyte has been cancelled due to Whyte having adverse findings in his drug testing. So, of course, that's not good. Whyte, this is just another incident of, I don't know, I feel like there needs to be some sort of more evidence shown. There's never really like a resounding kind of answer, and there's hardly ever kind of hard proof evidence. I know in the Verus one, I know this is just very random but happened on the same week, there was kind of straight away obvious and proof, but with this Whyte one there's just adverse findings and nobody really has any kind of pure evidence, and I'm sure it will take a while if there is ever going to be any, and I believe this is the second time that Whyte's had this happen to him, and so this might be a actual true real thing like actually going on, not like everything going on with Conor Benn when still nobody really knows if it's real or not. But it means that Joshua vs Whyte's off. From the time of the recording this, Joshua hasn't got an opponent yet. Seems like they want to still go ahead with the event and get an opponent just on a week's notice, but who might that be? I don't know. I feel like they'll just put him in against somebody which would be a much lesser fight. I feel like a lot of people will be wanting their money back because they sold out the O2 for that, and I just feel like a lot of people are going to be unhappy. But for me, I'm just happy to see Joshua fight. It's a big shame that the Wilder fight's not happening, but I still think there's other possible big fights that could happen. They've spoke about Hrgovic, McKean. There's a few options, like a few big fights, but I just don't want to realistically see him against like Chisora or against like, I don't know, somebody like that. I mean, there was talks of Roman Jr. I thought that would be pointless. I don't see that point in that at all. So, you know, there's just a few fights that I would possibly take, given the circumstances, but there's also a few fights which I definitely wouldn't take. Nakatani is set to fight Cortez September 18th. Alaniz is set to fight Esparza. Baumgartner is set to fight Choi, possibly. It seems like she's going to be called for that fight to happen. Higashi won via KO in round 6 versus Athon Sickle. Matsu won via unanimous decision versus Higashi. Yonaha won via split decision versus Jarupianlerd. Uchi won via TKO in round 8 versus Shiba to become a Japan Boxing Commission light flyweight champion. Kuroki won via majority decision versus Alarcon to become WBA and WBA World Atomweight Champion. So I haven't seen the fight for this because there's no way you can really watch it at the moment, but I know that Kuroki won. Pretty much everybody said that she wouldn't win, but I'm very happy to say I got that one right, and congratulations to her. She's even at her more experienced kind of age, she's showing that she's still fighting the best and she's still being and beating the best at the division. Amparo won via unanimous decision versus Kobayashi to become WBO Asia Pacific minimum weight champion. Ellis won via unanimous decision versus Oran. Teasley won via TKO round 3 versus Lu Yando. Sedano won via TKO round 1 versus Rubino. Rodriguez won via unanimous decision versus Solano. Cuevas won via unanimous decision versus Guedes Diogo. Gonzalez won via unanimous decision versus Spell. Kroll drew versus Schramm. Falcao won via unanimous decision versus Bernardin. Whyte won via KO in round 1 versus Garcia. Hughes won via points versus Spencer. Congratulations to Hughes. Of course, we've had him on the channel fighting on Conlan Boxing. He's doing very well for himself. Freeman won via points versus Ali. Quinn won via points versus Castro. Malloy won via TKO in round 1 versus O'Mason. Quinn won via points versus Blanco. Crocker won via TKO in round 4 versus Mendoza. Walker won via points versus Duran. McComb won via unanimous decision versus Moya to remain WBO European Super Lightweight Champion. McCrory won via decision versus Woodall. Ramos won via unanimous decision versus Hamilton. Aguayo won via majority decision versus Cavazos. Avila won via unanimous decision versus Stevens. Newman 2 won via unanimous decision versus Madeira. Sanchez won via unanimous decision versus Villa. Silva won via KO in round 4 versus Silva. Green won via unanimous decision versus Curry. Serrano won via unanimous decision versus Hardy to remain IBF, IBO, WBA, WBC and WBO World Featherweight Champion. That was a very good performance from Serrano. A very spiteful performance, one which definitely could have been stopped, and I wouldn't have had anything to say bad about the stoppage. it was a very dominant display. Serrano really showing her skills when she could have possibly overlooked this fight and just not really looked too much into it and not trained as hard or given it as much, but she was just outclassed her, showed her ability, showed that she's clear of what she... I mean, this is a rematch, but it's clear, and she's improving so much still with every fight, and that was a very good Spike performance, and most definitely going to set up a huge fight for her against possibly Alicia Baumgartner now. Not entirely sure. If not, then possibly somebody like Sky Nicholson. Not too sure, but maybe. Moving on, Paul won by unanimous decision versus Diaz. That was an interesting fight. I do love Nate Diaz. He's just quite a funny bloke. His fighting style is very strange, but Paul, he did well. It wasn't an amazingly good performance. I think he started better than what he has been and kind of silenced and stopped that part of his game being bad, because there was always talk about him starting too slowly and struggling to get into fights, but he started really well. It's just he kind of let his gas tank run out a bit, and I suppose this is, from what I believe, his first 10-round fight. It's completely understandable, but Diaz was just, especially in the later rounds, fighting that closer range fight, and Paul just didn't seem to be enjoying it too much because the power started sapping out. He didn't seem to be really being able to find his range in general, and Diaz was just kind of landing better and landing more at will in the later rounds and looking more impressive fight in the later rounds. But of course, Paul did enough in the earlier to mid rounds to be able to do well, and does still have that power, but hopefully now he works on his conditioning a little bit, works on his close range fighting a little bit more, and just needs his accuracy to be improved a bit as well. But overall, a good performance. I would be interested to see where he goes from next. He might end up fighting MMA. I wouldn't hate it. It would be alright. I just quite like seeing Diaz fight, so I wouldn't hate it again. I don't know if he'd win that though. Maybe, you never know. Moving on, Galvan won via unanimous decision versus Ramirez. Brady Jr. won via unanimous decision versus Rodriguez. Maratalo won via unanimous decision versus Rodriguez. Jones won via unanimous decision versus Barber. Pierce won via KO in round 3 versus Planier. And that's all the boxing news. Moving on now to the UFC news. Fiziev will fight Gamrot September 23rd. Jacoby won via KO in round 1 versus Zedchukwu. Suarez won by submission in round 2 versus Andrade. That was a very good performance from Suarez. I'm sure she probably will end up getting a title shot next. And Sandhagen won via decision versus Font. That was a very good performance as well from Sandhagen. People booing it and stuff like that. I wasn't a fan of them booing it because what he was doing was just so impressive, like how easily he managed to take Font to the ground. I believe he had 100% takedown success rates. He's did so well on the ground. He single-legged him every single time, and it just worked, and that's what you had to do. And when you're doing that and you're fighting against top-level guys, why not do exactly what you have to do to be able to win? And he did that exactly, performed it incredibly, and showed his ability, and so that's why he managed to get the win. I don't know if he will get a title shot next, you never know, but either way, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like if you didn't, like this, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.